Hey guys, welcome back to another great episode of Landscaping to the Point. I am joined with some great guest hosts. JC down at the bottom, he's the boxer. He's gonna knock everything back. And I got Josh that's up in the attic because he doesn't like the closet anymore, so he's going up to the
Came
attic.
out of the
So,
closet, baby.
and I am your great host Scott from Landscapes by Acme, and thank you guys for listening to Landscaping to the Point. So last week we talked about insurance. This week, we're going to go off topic. We're going retro. We're going to talk about movies that literally just blew our minds as kids and ones that we liked, ones that we hated, ones that scared the shit out of us that just, I got some good ones. So, and I was only thinking about this because I went and seen the new Spider-Man movie and it's kind of retro, little bit of retro comics into it. So it kind of threw my mind into it. So, we're going to go off of what was your favorite movie as a kid, start off with. We're going to go to Josh is thinking really hard. So I think I'm going to go with JC right off the bat. JC,
Wait,
what
we're doing horror or just in general? All time.
general, just general.
Oh,
What was your
oh,
best movie as a kid?
I'll jump in. Toy
Okay.
Story, the original. So
Toy
that
Story,
came
the
out.
original?
Yeah, I think I was in elementary school. You must have been graduating high school, but yeah, I think I was in like fourth or fifth grade, maybe third or fourth grade. My mother let me skip school to go with to the movie theater, and that was one of them. Because that was one of the first animated films back in the day. So,
Right.
and
Yeah.
before that, I think it was like Land Before Time. Like, and I'm talking like real young kid.
Yeah. Land Before Time. That's way small.
Yeah, and such a traumatic movie. Now that I think about it, it's like holy shit.
Right. Right.
Yeah, those movies were dark, like Bambi.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Bambi was
Bambi was
messed up,
pretty.
dude. It was like
Yeah.
I cried during that mom scene. I think I would still cry if I watched it. To be honest with you, dude.
So, JC, what's your favorite all-time movie?
That's a hard one, man. Two of them come to mind, but I guess I could only pick one, right?
Yeah, you can pick both. I don't care. I mean, if
All
you
right.
got two, I mean, go for it. I'd
Okay.
like to hear them.
All right. So the one I was obsessed with as a kid the most, it wasn't a cartoon movie. It was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I absolutely love
Nice,
that movie.
nice.
It was really, really cool. Got to see all the other ones that came out, Bogus Journey, and then the most recent one, which was fun. And then I have to say, The Sandlot was definitely one of my other.
Ooh, I gotta agree on that. Yeah,
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 yeah.
iconic film,
Sandlot was
especially for yeah.
Sandlot was a good movie. It was a very good movie. I agree on that one, definitely.
the Beast.
My favorite when I was a kid was Labyrinth. Um, and then The Never Ending Story. I think I watched that a crap load when I was a young kid.
Yeah.
And then I started to get into high school, and it was Tank Girl. Tank Girl. Literally, I watched that one freaking million times. Just something that I always love to watch, and I still have it on VHS. If that tells you anything, now that everything's DVD and Blu-ray and all that stuff and streaming, I got it on VHS. So if you really have a VHS player, come find me because I haven't seen it in like years on VHS. So
So you don't have a tape player?
no, I got rid of my tape player probably 15 years ago. So
I
I
got.
mean,
You know what? I gotta go to
I
one of the
got
used
totes of
store.
VHS movies that I just never have seen in like 10 years.
I'm going to one of the Salvation Army. I'm gonna find one for you and ship it out to you. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, it is.
Scott, were you one of the people that would frequent Blockbuster Video every weekend?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Our family went there every weekend, dude. It was Blockbuster, and then Family Video came out in our area, and it was like every weekend we'd go get probably 2, 3 movies for a weekend, watch them, get them back. Yeah, that was us. I mean, we never barely did we go to the movie theater. It was always, what's coming new out, and it was like you had to get there at a certain time or you ain't getting that movie. They had 40 copies. All 40 copies were gone by 8 o'clock. So you better hurry up and get there by 6, 7 o'clock. Yeah, yeah.
I'm thinking of movies like the favorite movie as an adult, man. There's so many. Like I can't pinpoint. I only remember the ones when I was young, and one that comes to mind too is Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh yeah, that was a good one, dude. Yeah,
Yeah, free me, baby.
yeah. Yeah, there's that. I mean, as an adult, I think it's hard to pick one because it's like you pick one and then another one comes out that's good and it's just as exciting. And you're like, okay, well, what do I do? You know, more into like the vampire movies and, you know, the zombie movies more than anything horror now than I think I was. I mean, literally when I was a kid, Jaws, when Jaws first came out, we watched it and we went to Florida that year, and that was it. I would not get in the freaking ocean. That was one thing that scared the shit out of me at that point. Like I could sit there and watch all of them and, you know, be totally fine, but going there and being in the ocean, yeah, that's
Jaws
a whole
was
different
recorded
thing.
in Cape Cod, so you don't have nothing to worry about in Florida.
Uh
Yeah, right.
I beg to differ. You know, what about you guys? What horror ones scare the shit out of you when you were a kid?
Oh my God, man. I don't know what my parents were thinking. Like they didn't know anything about like parental discretion, whatever. Dude,
Right.
I think I was like 7, 8 when they let me watch the original Exorcist. That left a scar, man. that was something else, man. I can't see it anymore. I mean, I'm not a horror movie fan, not because of that, but that one was just dark. You know, it was beyond scary. It was just dark, and I haven't watched it since, and I just still remember how it was. That was traumatizing.
Yeah, that one was pretty scary. Yeah. J- JC, I think horror is something that you have to get used to. And I think yeah, I think back then our parents didn't, you know, the parental was way out there. I remember my parents would let me watch any horror movie or any movie that was on, and it wasn't like nowadays like a PG-13, you know. And you go back and watch some of those PG-13 movies from way back, and you go to watch it with like I go to watch it with my youngest, and I'm like, wait a minute, this was PG-13 back then. Like this is like R-rated now. Like this is, you know, no wonder everything's different. So yeah, it's totally different. Josh is still thinking about his horror.
No. The thing is,
He's like a Rob Zombie kind of guy.
Yeah, actually,
I'm definitely. Well, House of a Thousand Corpses was like that whole series started in like I think like high school for me. But like, dude, well, horror, thriller, suspense, like that's my genre. Like I love like if there's one thing I could do, it would be like writing horror books or like a movie. I think when I was little, The Exorcist was definitely one that threw me off. Children of the Corn was definitely another one. But I'm a big Freddy guy, and I didn't get to go to the like movies to see horror movies. It was like what my mom wanted to see, so it was like Toy Story, How Stella Got a Groove Back, movies like that. But so I remember like when the regular TV, Freddy came on, and like that messed with me, dude. Like it really fucked with me because like I'm like this isn't bad, and then like I remember like going from my living room where my TV was to my bedroom was like 50 feet, and I'm like fuck, and it was pitch black, and I'm like diving and like nose diving into my bed and still like going under the covers, dude. And like so I think for years it messed with me to like when I put my feet down, like, dude, this motherfucker might grab me. Like, holy shit.
Josh still does that, by the way. He still
oh yeah, there was some horror ones that kind of threw me. I mean, Freddy was pretty good. Jason was one of another one that just kind of threw me off for a loop sometimes. And I know when I grew up, our house, you had to go all the way downstairs in the basement to turn the switch on to do laundry. And my parents would always send me down there. And you literally had to go in the middle of the basement, and it was pitch black. There was no windows down there. And it scared the shit out of me half the time because there was a door down there that went to like a crawl space. And literally, I'm like always freaking out. Like, is something going to come out that door? Because I can't see that door when I'm down there. Like, I got to hurry up, turn the switch on, you know? And it was like, okay, what kind of scary things are, you know, and it was like every weekend we were watching another horror movie. So it was like, okay, what why are we watching this stuff if I'm gonna be scared when I go down the basement, you know?
Yeah. What is it with basements back then? I had the same thing. I'd have to go down to the basement to get something from my mother.
It's grungy, man. It's cold.
But there was no switch when you went in. The switch was in the middle of the basement. It was one of those pull switches. You're going 1, 2, 3, click, and then like you're making your pathway running, and to go down, remember there was no cell phones back then, and
No.
flashlights were a dime a dozen at my house. Like you couldn't like, so it's like going through, and it's like they weren't a dime a dozen, and you're trying to feel your way like through the basement, and at the same time, like Scott said, you're waiting for a hand to reach out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I had our pole switch was right next to a pole. So I'd always walk down there and like try to reach for the pole and be like, is this the pole? And I'm like hoping nothing weird feeling is gonna be feeling it or it's slimy, and I'm like, okay, I hope this is the pole. Like you said, is there a hand down here? Is somebody down here? Like, I hope not. Like, yeah, it's so what was your favorite comedy of all time when you were a kid? How about that?
Oh, as a kid,
Yeah, as a
uh,
kid.
I'd go with like Three Stooges, Little Rascals. That was
Okay.
kind of my thing. And as an adult, well, teenager, adult, as an adult, like I vary. Like I don't really have a favorite, but as a teenager, it was Half Baked.
Yeah, Half Baked is a good movie. I think it is on based on pretty much most of our lives, pretty much.
Nope. Yeah, that's good.
What about you, JC?
I'm trying to think of one as a kid. Let me start with like kind of teenager, young adult. Office Space,
Yeah.
one of them. Old School was another one with Will
Oh
Ferrell.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. Let me see what else was funny. Ah, American Pie, the original one. That was like during high school. My time, I loved American Pie. It's definitely like part of our genre back then.
Right.
Did you ever notice how American Pie like set the scope for like what a high school party was, and then it kind of carried from that? Like it's like, oh shit, like kind of changed like the dynamic of like a high school party.
Oh heck
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean that's kind of what high school was all about. Was trying to get laid.
Yeah, right.
So true. So
um,
true.
as a kid, man, I don't know. I probably if I was like really when I was really younger, I watched those like Ernest Goes to Jail, Ernest Goes to Camp movies. I don't know if you remember those.
How much I forget. Holy shit, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those are good.
that's good. I mean, I don't watch them ones, but I've heard and watched a couple of them. But yeah, I pretty much grew up with like Caddyshack and uh, you know, National Lampoons and stuff. So that was more kind of the videos that my parents would let me watch, and literally I watch them and I still enjoy them. That's one thing that you can sit back and enjoy the old stuff. A good one that we watch here all the time is Goonies. Literally, that one is just
Mhm.
freaking amazing for me, my family, and everything. Hey, you guys. I think that's why I say hey guys all the time, and my kids
Hey,
pretty much
you
go on.
guys!
Yeah. So
Weren't they supposed to remake that like years ago, like 10 years ago? I thought they were gonna do like a sequel to it, or at least copycat it with new people.
Yeah, you can't
yeah, I
cast
think
Corey
so.
Feldman again, man. He's all well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them older ones that they want to redo, and I know they've talked about them, and some of them have gotten to a point where the story's been written or redone, and the cast members are put it down to where like they don't want to do it because they want to bring some of these old people back into it, and they're like, okay, well that was my past. I don't want to be an adult in this Goonies type movie and try to redo it. So yeah, it's one of those things.
You remember Good Burger with Keenan and Kel?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
they're making a second one. They're actually they're filming it now. I think they're in Rhode Island actually filming that
Oh
movie.
shit.
We have to go. You guys close. You just drive right up there and go into it.
Yeah, Paul Camaro's going to be starring in
Yeah.
Nice.
He'll be outside pruning the bushes for everybody.
Welcome to Good Burger. Good Burger. Can I take your order?
it. Oh man. Yeah,
So,
what about Christmas movies?
oh, I see. I think National Lampoon's A Christmas Vacation. That was one that literally I think stuck out with me as a kid, as growing up. It's kind of hard because I don't really like a lot of Christmas movies.
Got to go with Home Alone.
Yeah, Home Alone's good. Trying to think. Yeah, it's one of those ones that I'm more on the like the horror side. So,
Yeah, same here.
not really
I'd say,
many Christmassy. Yeah.
I'd say Home Alone and maybe like Christmas with the Cranks type thing. Like my kids got into that a lot, so I started watching. But same thing. Like I'm not really into like the holiday, like Halloween. Hell yeah, you know.
Yeah.
But like
Oh, yeah.
Christmas and stuff, not really.
So what's your favorite Halloween movie now, Josh?
Probably
Yeah, I got
Halloween, to
stuff to
be honest with you.
Halloween, yeah.
Like why not? You know.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of good ones. I think I always looked for Friday the 13th to kind of come out on, because they always seem to have when they released another one. It was always Friday the 13th. So you always knew that, what here comes another Jason movie on Friday the 13th. So you always knew that, and it was always in October. So there was always something good, I think, growing up horror wise around October 30th or 31st. So
I
yeah.
like the original Chucky movies were good too.
Yeah.
Did you have the
Yeah.
My Buddy doll as a kid?
No.
I was poor. I couldn't do that. No way. I couldn't even, like,
That was
dude, I
that.
think I would go to like try to find like any hockey masks, like the cheap ones, or like something I'd find like in the trash and use that for like Jason shit, you know? Like,
So, Josh, what did you used to dress up as for Halloween?
oh
Ooh.
fuck. As a kid, like a little kid, like pirates, shit like that. I don't like maybe like I try to do like a Power Ranger. Like I'd have to make the suit, you know. Power Rangers were big in elementary school. That's when like the original came out. And then I was teenager, typical like Jason mask or Scream mask with like a black jeans, black hoodie, like and a carton of eggs. Like that was it.
Oh man, what about you, JC? What was your favorite? What did you dress up as Halloween? I mean, come on.
Dressed up as a girl.
No, that I did not do. My cousin did. He dressed up like a bride and never lived that down. I was big into wrestling, like WWF.
Yeah.
So I remember one year my mom made me a costume because had a like construction paper. So I was like Animal from the Legion of Doom with the spikes on the shoulder pads and stuff. That was cool. And
So is that your favorite WWE wrestler?
at the time it was, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it was, yeah. They were just wild. I like them. They're badasses. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know, a few other things too, like Spider-Man, the usual stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I had we had the masks, the hard plastic masks. So I think pretty much it was more of whatever was available that year. It was Transformers or GI Joe or whatever, I think I was Chucky one year. So it was pretty much whatever it was available. So yeah, it was just, I think not until I got up into my teenage years where I started putting on the makeup and, the horror makeup and actually, walking around with a fake knife and stuff and scaring the shit out of little kids and trying to steal their candy. So, I mean, that was the easy point at that point,
One thing I always wanted to do is like they have like Comic Con and they have like the horror version of Comic Con. I've always wanted to go with that. And I've always missed it. And it sucks because I've always wanted to meet the guy that did what's his name? I can't of course now I forget it. He did the voice from he was Freddy and he did the voice for Saw.
Oh, yeah, the Jigsaw guy, right?
Jigsaw, yeah. I'll think of it in a minute. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Holy shit! But he passed away, so yeah. I mean, obviously that sucks. But
right.
Those are good movies too, or horror movies. Jigsaw.
I love those. I love those. Yeah, all the Saw movies, I love them.
Yeah, Hostel. What about Hostel? The Hostel movies.
I never really got big into Hostel. Like it wasn't my thing.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what? You know what I really liked, and what messed with the original. I think they got tacky. Was the original Final Destination. And I remember I saw that in movie theaters with a bunch of buddies, and we were in the theater. We were kind of like, it was cool, but like it's not, like it couldn't happen. Like Jason or Texas Chainsaw Massacre or even Saw, like those things could happen. But it's funny. We went outside and there was an overhang on the movie theater, and like we're looking up, and everybody's like, "Get the fuck out of the way!" And then after that, that's when like it's like how a movie can affect an entire generation. When you see the log truck in the highway, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Because that's the opening scene. The cool thing with Final Destination, the first one, is boom, they got right to it with the plane exploding and then the lot. Like they just didn't fuck around. Like a lot of the horror movies, like they drag out in the beginning, and then like then you get into the juicy stuff. They just got into it, man. Like they didn't care. And then like after you watch, you're like, wow, a lot of this shit could actually happen. Like, is this how death was? Remember, like 16, 15, 16 years old, at least me. So it's like, wow, is this how it actually works? Holy shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's one of those things that I think that definitely put a realization into you. I mean, yeah, I feel like some of the movies that build up to it, you're just like, okay, now I can kind of like even some of the shows now, like I know that when the music starts to get to that like eerie music, like, okay, don't go down in the basement. Why are you going down in the basement, chick? Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, seriously, you got to know something's going on. Come on, like, why would you go down there? Or why would you go towards that guy that's cutting up that cow with the chainsaw? That's stupid. Like, what are you thinking? Like, you think you're just gonna get walked away? Yeah,
Make very irrational decisions.
yeah, yeah. You're like, it kind of puts it in your mind and your perspective, like now of like, okay, I know what's going on. Like, what, is this really a real or what? So
What about action movies? You guys into those?
yeah, yeah. I love action. MIB, Men in Black, the Mission Impossibles, all those type of great action movies. I'll sit and watch and continue to watch on top of all the horror ones that I watch. So I mean, I think that's my wife stopped going to the movie theaters when my oldest got to about 14 and was like, yeah, you can take him to all those movies. You just I don't want to go see all those anymore. So pretty much it's only love stories for me at the movie theaters with my wife. So
The Notebook.
yeah. Yeah.
It took me 5 years to
One of
get
them.
through that movie without falling asleep. Like legit, one of my wife's favorite movies, and I just couldn't get through it. Plus, like the expectation that puts on every guy that watches that with a woman, it's like, this motherfucker just set the bar. Like, come on,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that are like, yeah. It's kind of hard. Like yesterday, when we went to the movie theaters the other day, like they changed everything in our theaters to the old seats to now reclining seats. So it's a lot easier to fall asleep now than you actually think about. And I'm like, why did they do this? I don't. I rather just be my ass hurting and not wanting to sit there for another 45 minutes for the movie. But now I'm like relaxed and comfortable, and it's like, okay, what now?
Sneaking food into the movie theater.
Yep.
I mean, I'll still pay for the popcorn. I know it's super expensive. It's just something about having popcorn at the theater, man. I don't know.
Yeah, the bag or the container. Yeah, but we do the same thing, dude. We go in backpacks, like stuffed in every other which way, chips, like candy bars and stuff. But I always have to buy the drink and the popcorn at the theater.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, it's so expensive. So expensive.
Ridiculous, dude. I got a family of 4, and it's over like $150 if you're gonna buy the stuff. That's probably like dude, the movie tickets alone now are almost $100 for the 4 of us. It's insane.
We have a theater out here because we're out in the cornfields. That's only $8 a person for I know cornfields. Yeah, $8 a person. So, yeah. It only seats like 45 people, but it's it's a small
45
town.
people that live in the city.
No, just around the outside cities. It's literally out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's nowhere. So there's a Walmart next to it where you can go get your candy and then you just go right into the movie theater. So I mean, that works out good. So, but yeah, I think I paid 65, but I think the drinks were the most expensive, like $6 a drink for a large drink.
For a watered down carbonated drink, it's crazy.
Right. And you're like, really? I need a drink. I need the popcorn, and that's $40 for popcorn and drinks for everybody. So yep. So I know we're talking about bringing in candy and all that. My mother-in-law used to she used to take the kids to the movie theater, and we used to take the kids with her. She would bring a whole big bag full of like everything. And then literally she'd bring in the juice boxes. She'd bring in the she pop her own popcorn, bring in the candy. Literally, as soon as we sat down, it was like, okay, kids, what do you want? And it was like, you could hear the wrappers of my kids ripping open the wrappers. And you're like, okay, you got to know that this isn't the real stuff that you're getting there, you know? So, okay, I'm going to go with this. What's your all-time favorite movie that you would watch anytime, multiple times?
Josh, go ahead.
He's thinking about this one. He's got to really think. It could be any genre. Okay, any genre.
But that's the problem. Like, I don't have one specific movie that's my favorite that I could watch over and over and over. Like, I have several. Like,
It's hard, man.
so like,
it is hard.
I'm gonna go with the typical like Massachusetts Boston kid thing, and like I could do The Town or The Departed or anything like that, like over and over because I can relate. I grew up in the city in Boston, so like a lot of the background that goes with that, I can relate to. Not the Whitey Bulger stuff, but like the actual background, like they like seeing the aesthetics and the different towns and stuff. So anything like that, I'll default to that. Like I know, like once you guys start talking, I'm gonna go, yep, that one. But
JC, what do you got? I mean, I want to hear what you got because it's now you're thinking too because it's like one of those things. I can see it. It's hard because I think it's hard to pick one movie that you would stick to all the time.
So he brought up a good one, The Departed. Every time that's on TV, I kind of watch that. But I'm a creature of habit, and I'm probably going to resort back to my childhood favorite movie. And because I do this every time that it's on television, I just keep it on, and sometimes I end up watching the whole thing. It has to be The Sandlot. I love that movie, especially during around the 4th of July season. That's something I like to watch. So it's like if it's on TV and I'm not doing anything and just channel surfing, it's gonna stay on.
That's a good movie. That's a really good movie. Definitely. I think if we go back to that, it is a good movie. Mine is something that I would watch every time and as multiple times as a kid is the Nightmare Before Christmas. Literally.
Oh, you dude! Oh my god! Fuck yeah! No, I switched mine to that, dude. Holy shit! How can I forget, dude? I got a bunch of jack shit downstairs too. Holy crap! Yeah, that never gets old.
No,
ever.
No, it doesn't. I think we watch it around Halloween, and then when Christmas comes, we watch it again. And I know we watch it at least once or twice during the summer.
Yeah, that's a Wes Craven one too.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything Wes Craven is just
unbelievable. Always
amazing.
Anything he touches,
amazing.
Man.
Yeah. There's so many good artists that put out their movies that I'll just watch whatever they are. And, even if it doesn't suck, there's certain parts in it that are just mind blowing. And you're like, okay, like I got to watch this again just to get this, why it's going on. So yeah. Wes Craven is definitely some good movies.
I've never gotten into the Marvel movies. I think I watched the Avengers, like the first one, or like Iron Man, Captain America once. I haven't kept up with them at all. I don't think I've watched anything else after that. But
I watched every one at least 5-6 times.
And I used to collect comics as a kid. I'd read the comics. I knew them. Like when I first saw, I want to say like X-Men,
right,
or like Iron Man, I was like, some of the stuff wasn't the same as it was in the comic books. So that kind of threw me off. And I'm like, I'm all set. They changed it.
A lot of that stuff for me was the comics, and then like Saturday morning cartoons with like Thor and the X-Men were always on. So I know that's not Marvel, the X-Men, but DC and Marvel. They got a new movie coming out with Batman.
Yeah, that comes out to a couple weeks. Batman and the Flash.
Yeah,
is in it? I think it's called the Flash, and then Batman's in it. 2 different Batmans.
They keep mixing like these alternate universes, which is like again not.
It's the DC version of the metaverse.
Yeah. It's like to me that throws off from what I've known as a kid collecting the comics. I think they kind of did that in maybe a few comics back then, but it wasn't as crazy as it is now. I understand it need for change too, but
a lot of the stuff is now the newer part of the comics because I know I do that. If you go into my shop, I have like literally boxes of X-Men comics and every Marvel comic produced in the 90s. And my oldest son, follows DC a lot more than I do. And he listens to the comics, watches comics. He says it's pretty much most of the stuff that's going on now in all these movies is stuff from the newer comics that have been produced in the last couple of years. It's not a lot from our older comics that we're kind of used to. And so it's like we go into them and we know the characters, but we don't know exactly what's going on, like these storylines. And you're like, okay, why is this, what's this, I know a lot of the characters, and some of the newer characters, I'm like, who the heck is this? And my son will be like, oh, this one, he was in this comic. And I'm like, when was that? Like that comic, 2 years ago? Like that's not a comic that I know of. Like that's not my old comics, like, some of those Guardians ones, the characters in the Guardians. I didn't know half of the new characters in Guardians. And my son's like, yeah, I know all of them. And I'm like, okay, we'll just let you go with it, So, yeah. Josh, what movies make you cry? There we go.
Everyone.
my wife makes fun of me because it's mostly sport movies. Like at the end of the fucking movies, when like the teams prevail and it runs through.
How about that one? The one where the kid's doing the flapping of the wings for the Angels? Is that the one that makes you cry really bad?
Yeah.
Outfield?
Not so much that one, no, but like
Angels in the outfield.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh no, that's Rookie of the Year. Okay. Yeah. Let it flow. Yeah, that's the mother at the end of the movie. Yeah, probably. It's like funny. My eyes will puff up.
It's allergies.
Yeah, right. It's allergies. Anything involving like a kid, like getting like brutally murdered. But I gotta be honest. If I was to write a horror movie, I hate the happy endings where someone gets away, and I would pulverize a kid in my horror movie just for the effect of it. So. I'd have to say really like anything where someone prevails at the end of it, where it's a challenge or sick or something like that. Nothing specific, but
right. JC, what about you? What makes you cry in a movie?
I don't really suffer from allergies all too much, but one thing that comes to mind, and again, I think it was just maybe a bad instance in which I did have allergies during that time. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, when the ant dies. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah.
I mean, my eyes were a little itchy then, I think, but
yeah. It was the weather. I mean, we know it. Yeah. It's all right.
I don't know. I have a hard time with like, although I know a lot of movies, I didn't grow up going to the movie theater. I think the first one we saw was Jaws, but it was re-released when I was a kid. And then my second movie that I ever went to the theater at was Home Alone, and that's why it's one of my favorite movies. But yeah, like I've always had it in the back of my mind, like I know like when I'm watching a movie that there's a cameraman behind recording the scene. So for the concept for me to even temporarily think that it's like somewhat real is kind of hard for me to grasp. But yeah, I mean, I still enjoy them. I'm not a big movie guy, but every now and then I think I've seen some of the more popular ones that people have kind of watched throughout the years.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I feel like, certain movies you can tell that the perspective of how it's videotaped. You can say like, oh yeah, that's definitely video for somebody behind. And I think I like some of them ones like that, like Blair Witch, where it was kind of more of walking around with a video. It makes me feel more like into it because it's like that could really be happening. Like
I thought Blair Witch was the stupidest fucking thing. Everybody made such a big deal out of it.
Thanks. That was the one that I cried on, and now you're telling me it was the stupidest thing.
I kind of like that one, like what Scott was saying.
Either you absolutely hate it or you love it. There's nobody that's really in between with it, at least that I've talked to, where it was like I saw it and I'm like, I get the concept of it. I think it was the delivery and the acting in it. Like it was just like, come on, dude. Like you could have been done better.
But I've seen some B movies that are just awesome like that. They're just, it's just
no. And there's low budget movies that are real cool. This one just seemed like it was just like the acting sucked.
Well, okay, the actors sucked, but it was a good movie, I thought.
It was weird.
It's an iconic movie. It's up there because so many people like it. So it's definitely up there in like a top 10 of like horror movies in general, or thrillers. It's more of a thriller, but
Yeah.
It was so strange because it's like if someone's in the woods afraid, they're not going to be holding a camera and recording the stuff that's going on with them. At least I wouldn't. I don't know.
well, because it was more documentary based
Yeah,
in the woods. But you know what was a good one when I was younger? It was I forgot. It was Slender Man.
never watched it.
You gotta check it out. It's not so much now, but as a kid, that would freak you the fuck out. So if you're listening, go watch that one. I won't give you the details.
What's it called again? Slender Man?
Slender Man?
Slender Man, like slender.
Yeah.
But just to back up to the movies that make you cry, I just thought it too. When I was younger, My Girl, where the boy dies going back to say get the thing for the girl, like that was horrific. So it was like, oh my, it felt like someone in your group died. And then as a young adult, Boy in the Striped Pajamas. So it was a movie based off a kid in a concentration camp, and it was a Jewish kid obviously on the concentration camp side, and then a German kid on the other side. And these were young kids, probably about 9 years old. They would meet with each other every day for years, and then one day the kid doesn't show up. Obviously he was murdered in the concentration camp, and it kind of gets into the background. So that was kind of, like I said, anything involving kids usually gets me.
Yeah. I watched one my daughter made me watch recently, and she watched these ones about dogs and stuff, and literally it made me cry at the end. It was about the dog dying, and then like it was the dog that died and the grandfather that died, and it was just like it was both like both at the same time, and I was like crying, and she's like, "Are you crying?" And I was like, No, I'm not crying. I'm I'm like there was nothing about it. It was just like it was so traumatic. It was like, okay, I didn't see that coming. It was all a good funny movie, and then all of a sudden, like 15 minutes left of the movie, and here both of them die, and you're like, what, why, like, why are you killing this dog off? Why are you killing this old guy off? Like, why?
But to piggyback off that, like, as an adult, if you look back at All Dogs Go to Heaven, tell me that wasn't a fucked up movie to be watching as a kid. Like, the concept of it, I think back, I'm like, holy fuck, like we didn't even really know what that was about. I'm like,
Disney was dark, man. I mean, Land Before Time, Bambi, All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Dude.
Yeah, man.
Like, I think movies are dark. Most kids learn about death.
Yeah.
Oh, another movie that comes to mind, favorite as a kid, was The Karate Kid. All three of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Three Ninjas.
Three Ninjas, yeah. Turtles in a half shell.
You remember Sidekick with Chuck Norris? I like that one. It was a karate movie.
Yeah.
Walk of Texas Ranger. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was my absolute favorite as a kid.
Secret of the Ooze.
But it was more based, like, the movie came out later, but it was based off the cartoon, the Saturday morning cartoon, when I was younger. And then the first movie came out with Vanilla Ice, the one Vanilla Ice was in. But yeah, dude, I've watched. I fell off when they started getting a little like sci-fi-ish for a little while. Like they kind of lost their way, but yeah, it was definitely. I had like all the figures and stuff. Like, used to draw them. I would make the shell out of like cardboard or whatever I had.
You should make a background right up there in the attic of just all your Teenage Mutant Ninja stuff. See, and
actually, you want to know what's sick is there's the city I moved to. There's actually a comic store. And I was so happy because the suburb I lived in before this, there wasn't one. And I'll have to find it in the next podcast. It's a giant poster board of Teenage Mutant. It's the old school one. So nice. I grabbed it. It's actually, I think it's stashed in the basement and like in a safe area, but it's super cool. It's like one of the originals.
Was that the That's Entertainment store?
Yeah, right on Park. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I made sure did you going in there, Scott? You'd love this place, dude. It's like throwback action figures from Power Rangers to He-Man to like all this. Like, they have like the throwback sports memorabilia, but like every comic you could think of. It's insane. Poster boards and stuff, man. It's so cool.
Dude, I would love it. I mean, I love comic book stores. I go to pretty much all of them around here. It used to be a cool one that had tons and tons of stuff, and the dude turned around and closed it up, and it kind of sucks because it's like that one had anything and anything you wanted, like that, kind of like what you're saying. And like I'm a big collector. I have tons of old He-Man, all them kind, all that kind of stuff. I literally sold a Thundercats guy, and literally I regret it because literally his little power ring was I sold for $125, and it was like yeah. And so these guys are selling for outrageous. And I
Dude,
mean,
a lot of the stuff I gave to my nephew, and when I went to that comic book store and saw what they were going for, I was like, holy crap. Like, and not even mint condition either. I was like, holy shit.
Right.
The stuff that was in the box was like over, like you said, over $1.25, $1.50.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I grew up where we had tons of that stuff. I had totes. I literally still have a couple totes, but my brother took a bunch of totes and literally destroyed them, threw them away. I had tons of. I had every GI Joe guy and collectible of theirs when I was younger, and literally when my dad had my brother like 14, I was 14, he was 2. He let him start playing with them, and they just disappeared. And literally, it's like some of those guys, I'm like, really, like they're, what they're worth, just their body part, the middle body part that the rubber band breaks out of is like worth $10. And I'm like, what? Wait a minute, like I just want parts of the guy back. Just give me the parts so I can freaking sell them or whatever I need to do with them. Yeah.
My sister took all my Nintendo games, my Nintendo system, like I still had a box. She sold them all at a yard sale for like 25 cents each. Come on.
You get those now. I get an entire up here, but I'm just like, I'm thinking back now, action figures. Ghostbusters was a massive thing I was into when I was younger, and I had all the characters. I had the car, and think of iconic movies. Ghostbusters, the original. There you go too. That's one I would probably watch over and over again. But I had all like a ton of the action figures and the cars and like all the villains. And my mother had asked me, I moved out when I was like 16, 17. Do you want this stuff? And at the time, I'm like, no, why the fuck do I want figures? Dude, some of this stuff, like that car was over like $500 on like eBay. And like, God damn it. Like, and I told her, just throw it away and give it to somebody. I think she donated it to like a used secondhand store or Salvation Army or something.
Yeah, I mean, most of my stuff, I played with most of my stuff till I was probably like 13, 14. And then I started realizing that could be collectible. So I would still like go, even when I met my wife, I pretty much would go till, the store and buy stuff and be like, okay, I'm going to collect this and keep it, in a box. And so I have stuff that's collectible from like the early 90s, but it's just like, you're like, really? Like it's that much, like either good or bad. It's like, wow, So this was a great episode, guys. I hope you learned about all the movies that made Josh and Jensen cry. I mean, Josh, I think he's crying more at these movies than Jensen is. So, just to let you know that.
I got a soft soul.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. We understand.
Josh cried at the movie Cool Runnings at the end.
I probably did, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I could see that too. I could see him doing that. Yeah, he cries at any sports movie.
Coach Carter, I definitely teared up. I'm not like pulling my eyes out, but Coach Carter, I teared up at the end of that.
Rudy.
Yeah, Rudy, definitely.
Rudy, definitely, dude. That's a Scott movie too, I guarantee you.
Yeah. I've watched it many times. Don't worry. Believe me, and that's why I keep going to the stadium. It's all right, guys.
Yep, that's what I figured. It's a team, so
yeah, it's a team. You got to watch at least once a year, before you start the football season. So don't worry. Yep. But thank you guys for listening. Like us, comment us. These guys are great hosts with me, and we share a lot. And hopefully, you guys enjoy that. If not, take your complaints to Josh. He'll answer them. He's our enforcer. So,
yep.
So thank you guys for listening. Like I said, comment, share it, and watch us and listen to us on Spotify, iHeart, and watch us on YouTube. Later, guys.
Later.
See ya.
Later.